Okay, we're rolling. All right, we're here in Dryden with Dr. Jesse Zroback. He's a potential astronaut with the Canadian Space Agency. You're a locum here in Dryden for 1 week. You're working
That's
with Dr.
right.
Moore.
Yep.
You've been to Dryden once before as
Yep.
a med student with NOSM.
Yep.
With Dr. Gagnon. So we have 3 questions. We're just trying to give the community a little bit of an idea of who's in our community and where they're from and where they're going. And your story is interesting. So we have 3 questions for you. The first one, every boy wants to be an astronaut at some point in their life. When did you seriously start thinking of becoming an astronaut?
About the age of 2. I was a young boy playing around, big imagination, and I always dreamt about, jumping around moon, doing the moon jump. And my mom says that as young as the age of 2 that I was talking about wanting to go to the moon and fly up into space. And so, as you go through life, you realize that it's a pretty low chance that that you'd have a good opportunity to actually become a Canadian astronaut. And when it really became real was when they posted the job opportunity this past summer in June of 2016. So that's when I knew that it's time for me to really put my heart into this application and see where it would go.
Right on. So you applied in 2016, is that right?
Yeah. In August of 2016 is when they ended up by having the application was due.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So, funny story, I actually applied as well, but very rigorous screening process. Very first question, are you afraid of heights? I answered yes, and I was immediately eliminated. But how did you overcome your fear of heights, or do they test for that even?
Yeah, so one of the things that we ended up by helping me with test my heights and how I am around heights was 6 years ago when I was here as a second-year medical student with Allison Sweeney, who's now a family doctor as well, and we were doing a placement both in Vermilion Bay and Dryden with Dr. Yvon Gagnon, and as part of our trials to pass the term and the actual experience was to go down his toboggan course in his backyard, and this goes all the way down his yard into Eagle Lake, and so definitely that played a big role for sure. And yes, the Canadian Space Agency does test your I guess response to heights, because when we were in Halifax it would have been March, we ended up by having to jump off of an 8-meter tall plank into a wave pool and then do some laps around the pool when they were simulating a storm on the ocean. And so they do definitely test for your heights.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So conceivably, if you're selected, when could you expect to be in space?
Yeah, so right now I'm an applicant, and there are 32 candidates. And so if I do get the job, there's 2 spots. They would be telling us who gets the job in the early summer of this year. But you actually don't even get the title of astronaut until you finish astronaut school. And that's a 2-year program that you go down to Houston, Texas at NASA for. And then years after that, training, they may assign you a mission. And right now it's on average about maybe 8 to 10 years after you get the job, maybe even 15 years, that you would be assigned a mission and that you may actually go to space. So the majority of the job is training to be an astronaut and supporting current missions that are happening up in space.
That's a pretty cool story. Dr. Jesse Zroback, he's from Kenora. It's not where you're from, it's where you're going. That's a good story, and we want to hear more from you down the road. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks, Chuck. Good to be here.
All right, take care.